Okay, we will go ahead and call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Happy to report that tonight's roll call shows all members present. If you would record that as such, Ms. English. We have an agenda in front of us this evening. Any additions or corrections?
Just a minor little thing on agenda item number 11, the recommended actions. C, the board governance. You have the engagement agreement and then the Ellendale land agreement. Those are the same thing.
Okay.
It's the same document. It's basically a repeat, so we just have to act on it one time.
Thank you. Looking forward to that. Any other additions or corrections? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Schoenrock, seconded by Ms. Tyre to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We do have Ms. Tracy Smith with us this evening for the public comment section. I welcome her to the board here this evening. Just a reminder, we do have a 5-minute time frame limit on that. We would appreciate you not mentioning specific student or specific staff members' names if at all possible. And we welcome you. You have the floor.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, public, I'm here today over our concern for the health and safety of our children at the secondary school. It's at the beginning of our school's vision statement to be the school district of choice, inspiring excellence. That statement alone supports having a licensed nurse in each building. My family and I have been personally affected by this risk after the March 16, 2017 incident with my child. And my child should have left the school by ambulance, instead sent home on the bus. We were assured after this incident by school administration, as well as some board members, that there would be a full-time nurse at each location to administer medication for everyone's safety. Our current situation is that we have a full-time LPN at the Ellendale site that cares for all the day-to-day needs. However, several of these children at this site that were requiring extra care have now graduated up to the secondary building, hence requiring a licensed nurse to meet their needs now at the secondary building. I put handouts at the desk for you guys to look over whenever you have time. One is from the Minnesota Department of Health. The other one is from the state school out in Minnesota, and then the other one was from an article from the Star and Tribune, the needs for nurses and funding in our schools. While having an unlicensed staff in the health office to administer first aid and medication does not have the training and knowledge that a licensed nurse has in case of side effects, complications, or any other unintended outcomes. The students, the staff, and the school are best protected by having a licensed nurse in both locations. It's this reason that I come to you and ask that we try to have a licensed nurse at both locations for everybody's self-safety and welfare. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. As I will remind the rest of the board, obviously this is not an action item for this evening's meeting. This is an information gathering. We will refer this over to our administrative team, and if there are further questions on this subject, please reach out to them for follow-up and any questions you may have on this subject. So thank you again for your time this evening. With that, we will move into the superintendent's report. Mr. Mayak, would you begin that, please?
Yeah, I'll start with our administrative team and Mr. Katetsky.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Not a ton to report. Just basically, I think overall, I got a leadership team meeting with our staff here last week, and they thought things were kind of off to a really nice start this year. So some of the transition things are going really well. We were able to add a paraprofessional. We found one, Chelsea Johnson. She'll be studying with us. I believe she's a grad, so some of you might know her. But she'll be starting with us, I think, this Thursday, I believe. As soon as that. So we're excited to get Chelsea on board. We did find a long-term sub for Mrs. Jensen. That was our biggest concern in our August meeting. Took a substitute out of rotation, but Sandra Paulson is going to be joining us for Mrs. Jensen, and that leave, I think, starts on September 30th, but if everything goes well. The best news I think we have so far is our new pickup and drop off. That was a huge investment, and a lot of positives going along with that. I've heard parents, no complaints. That's a W. But they're actually complimenting on how smoothly things are going. So thank you for allowing that facelift back there. I think it was much improved. We have the concrete things back there as well with the ramp leading into the courses. But yeah, so far just all positives, and we're getting ready for next week's homecoming parade. So we just got the parade permit today. We're set. So, any questions?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Katetsky.
Thank you, Mr.
All this.
All right, at secondary, we didn't start off slow because the second day of school we had impact team driver here, and it's a free program put on by the state patrol. We bring in troopers to come in and talk to sophomores, talk about all different kinds of bad habits of driving, obviously texting or drinking and things like that, wild and crazy stuff. But they did some different interventions, and then we have another hour-long video that we'll complete on our own. And I already have them coming back next year, and it was a great program to be part of, and I want to keep using them. We do have a mock crash on Friday, and this is a correlation between us, Richland Ambulance, Richland Fire Department, Richland Police Department, Richland County Sheriff, North Air, and North Ambulance. And we'll be kind of in the lot behind the bowling alley. And the best part about this is I didn't have to do anything. They just came and asked last spring if they'd like to join us. I said, absolutely, that would be great. So, what exactly they have planned, 100%, I don't know. But we've been part of mock crashes in the past. And again, we want to really make sure that we're sending the message to our students to be safe. Homecoming's coming up next week. Congrats to everyone that's involved with it. From the court to the people that put it together, to the MCs, to everyone. Coronation is now written in stone for Tuesday the 24th at 7:30 p.m. Okay. Typically it's a Monday. We have a volleyball game Monday. We're going to do it Sunday. We have 3 members of the court who will not be able to make it. We're going to go to Thursday. They wanted it Tuesday, and they came up with a good enough plan on Tuesday to make sure it's good. So, explanation. The Lionheart experience, I sent that information out to you guys, and I would look for your support for that. I know Lauren asked about a grant at one time, and right now we don't have one quick enough that we can get. I also expressed that next time, if they are going to bring something like this in and they want us to be part of it, we can talk so much earlier, be part of the planning of it. Okay. To my face, I haven't heard a complaint yet about self-reply. So if there's complaints, they haven't come to me. I would say it's going very well. Very well. We've got CTE students going on a manufacturing tour on October 3rd. And also coming up here, we've got parent-teacher conferences on October 8th, so a couple things to look forward to before I stand in front of you again. Questions?
I just have a comment. I haven't heard anything at my house either. So I think it's a good thing. Not one thing.
I haven't either. If you're looking for student information. I texted Jace during the school one day and thought, oh, I know he's not going to answer, and that's fine. And he didn't.
It was a test.
I had to wait, and I really wanted to answer quickly, but I didn't get it as quickly as I used to. So it must be working. So I don't mind. I think
It's wonderful.
you know, I shouldn't get an immediate answer if he's working on something. So I shouldn't expect that.
I would share a positive comment. I heard there's a lot more verbal communication at lunch. That lunch is lunch, and they're experiencing conversations among students, which is a wonderful thing. So yeah, we're excited for you, Mr. Berg, and thank you for leading that, and thank you again back to the staff. As I've stated before, this isn't something that happens by one person alone. It needs to be a district-wide approach, and we're excited to continue to hear successful stories from it. So thank you. Any other comments for Mr. Berg this evening? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Berg. And Ms. Whiteside.
Right, hello everybody. Just some updates for community ed. A lot of it's just status quo right now with all the programming that we have. And just to kind of give you an idea, last school year for early childhood screening, we ended up screening a total of 54 children. And then again, we do this every year. Screening takes place over MEA week, that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so preschools close that entire week because all of our early childhood staff partake in the screening process. Our preschool registration numbers are up this year. We actually have 82 preschoolers for our 3 and 4/5-year-old group. It's kind of a breakdown showing you what the numbers look like. They're almost identical in both Richland and Ellendale. And it's sometimes it's really heavy over here, lighter in New Richland, vice versa, but it's nice to see an even split there. Otherwise, the only big difference that I see in preschool is we did decide to simplify the schedule for preschool, as in our 3-year-olds are only allowed 2 days per week, and that's 8 to 10:30s just on Monday and Thursday mornings, 3 days a week for either 3 days a week or 4 days a week for our 4 and 5-year-olds, and Monday, Wednesday, Friday is in the morning, Monday through Thursday is in the afternoon. And this shifted over just because we have found over the years that 3 hours for our 3-year-olds is too much. We lost a lot of, concentration and focus after about 2.5 hours. So in researching all the other community ed programs, preschool programs around the area, this is pretty much what the majority of them are going with. So we did decide to cut back the 3-year-olds to 2.5 hours, just 2 days a week, and not give them that 3rd day option as was available in the past. And then for our 4 and 5-year-olds, that time did increase substantially. They no longer had a choice for just 2 days, but now they have a choice between 3 and 4 days. I was a little nervous. My preschool teachers, early childhood staff, everybody was extremely on board with this change, and they thought really positive of it. I was a little nervous that the difference might affect some registrations, but it has not. We actually got a couple compliments that it's so much easier than 2 days. You have a 3rd day option, 4th day option, who goes when and where, and all that stuff. So it's been a positive change for sure. And then I did end up increasing our rates as well. That's the way of things now. All right, so our school age care registration numbers are basically just right on par with how they've been last year as well. We saw a little increase over in Ellendale here, a little decrease in the morning in Richland. Otherwise, summer went fantastic. The kids had a lot of fun going on some field trips. Up here, we actually took the kids to a place in Rochester called Boundless. It's a huge, I can't even remember how many square feet it was. It's just thousands upon thousands of square feet. It's called Boundless, but it's an all-inclusive playground. So the entire thing is just decked out with this beautiful, squishy flooring that's wheelchair accessible. Everything in there is accessible for all kids of all abilities. And the kids had a fantastic time when we got back, and I saw them, they're like, oh, when can we go again? So that's probably something that we will do, if not every year, probably every other year to get them up there. For youth recreation, the only change for our dance program is I could not find a New Richland instructor, so we're just doing it over here in Ellendale. Unfortunately, because of the size of the classes and the ability to effectively teach and instruct them, we had to limit the amount of kids per class. The only one that we've hit so far for maximum capacity is our tiny dancers, which is our preschool age kids at 12, and all the other classes are probably about 15, 16 kids is our max for that. Otherwise, competition cheer, we just have our varsity kids performance cheer that begins October 1st. That is for grades 3 through 9. We no longer have a middle school cheer team. The performance team is 3rd through 9th grade, and that just focuses on basically prepping the kids for varsity cheer if they decide to move on to competition cheer. And then the performances that they do are just at local sporting events, so they get that experience that way. And the registration for that is only $75, and then if somebody wants to join, if they qualify, they get the $50 youth scholarships as well. So that makes it extremely affordable in trying to give students more opportunity to participate if they want. Otherwise, for our homecoming cheer camp, Bailey Home is the one who is in charge of that with some of the varsity sideline cheerleaders. They have 40 total children registered for that. Otherwise, for Clay Target, 48 athletes. T-ball, Coach Fish's summer was fantastic. Flag football went great. Actually had 3 freshmen and 1 sophomore leading that while I was out there with them, because I really don't know a whole lot about football, and those kids just had a blast. I was so proud of those boys. But they had a great time, and all the kids had a great time. Parents really enjoyed the fact that we had student athletes out there helping coach the kids. Youth enrichment, otherwise, we're doing Lego Club, Art Club. We've got a trip to Urban Air on November 4th. Krista Reeder is doing our adult bus trips. She is taking a group up to Cirque Musica if we reach the minimum capacity for that trip towards the end of November, and then just regular adult recreation. All right, otherwise, this is our brochure. I actually just got them delivered today, so I'm going to try to get them out in the mail on Wednesday. And it's nice to see Cub Scouts reached out to me to set up a time to do a registration night this week. I think it's on Thursday this week, and then the 24th next week, which is Tuesday. So, otherwise, everything is pretty much as well. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mason. I have just 2 things to report on. The first, you should have a report in front of you from the 23-24 school year, the fundraising report. And a couple of years ago, we added this kind of process and then reporting for our staff members. And then in turn, we'll share with you the different fundraising that's going on. Again, really the main purpose of this is just to kind of have an overview so we're not bombarding our community and grandparents and parents with too much at the same time, and just having some understanding of what's really taking place. So you'll see that over half of the fundraising that does happen in our school is from our external groups, and I've put that out there for them as well. Basically the same form, but with an outside organization, even if it's community ed and run through that program, it's not really that they need our permission, but we're just asking them to provide some information for us. So again, that we know our name is usually going to be attached to it, and positive experiences could shine bright on us. Negative experiences with that fundraisers or anything with our name on it usually comes back to us as well. So the financial reports aren't the same, are requested the same from our external groups associated with the district. But you'll see that most of the information for our internal groups, still waiting on some of that financial statements to come in, but for the most part, this is what took place in our district last year, and it's all very appropriate and doesn't seem overwhelming. And just by coincidence, it has nothing to do with my staff evaluation or my evaluation tonight, but I have some certificates of appreciation for our school board members. And September is, and remember, we were gonna do my evaluation in August. We didn't wait and put it off until now, so it is, September is School Board Appreciation Month, and so we'd like to say thank you for your dedication, for contributing and being part of the district and having this important role in helping the district be the best district we can be. So the certificate reads, it's a certificate of appreciation for your dedication to our students in public education in Minnesota. So thank you, Rick Schultz.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren Shayrock. Thank you, Terry Engel. Thank you, Pat Tyre. Thank you to Amy Erke. Thank you to Rich Mueller for coming back and doing it again. And thank you to Aaron Phillips. That concludes the report.
All right. Thanks again. Any further questions for Mr. Mayak this evening? We will open it up for board member comments then. Does anyone have anything that they would like to bring before the board this evening? All right. Next regular meeting will be October 21st over at the Secondary Media Center at 6:30 p.m. With that, it moves us into the consent agenda items, and I would appreciate Mr. Mayak introducing those, please.
Our standard consent agenda statement reads, for the consent agenda, the board has been furnished with background materials on each item or has discussed these items at a previous meeting. These will be acted upon with one vote without discussion. If a board member wants to discuss any of these items, it will be pulled out of the consent agenda and will be voted on separately. But before we approve this agenda, we'd like to recognize our donations for this month. We have a number of donations being made from community organizations for our Eagle Bluff trip. They include the Arcadian Bank for $150, the Morium Drainage for $100, Olson Custom Contracting for $50, Thompson Sanitation for $100, NRHEG donated $100, and the Lions Club of Ellendale donated $250, again, all of which is for the Eagle Bluff trip. And then we had two separate donations for our playground fund. We had a $500 donation from the Lions Club of Ellendale, and we had a $5 donation that was received at the Steele County Fair for our playground fund. So all total, we had $1,255 of donations this month. And year to date, we're over $13,000 at $13,609.07. And with those recognitions, I'd ask the board to approve the consent agenda as it is presented.
I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion made by Mr. Mueller, seconded by Mr. Phillips to approve the consent agenda items as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving into recommended actions, the MOU with Education Minnesota for the state mandated READ Act training. We're all familiar with this term now, and Mr. Mayak, do you have something to bring before us?
Preston, you're in understanding the term, so you can explain it to the rest of us.
It's familiar.
And this is, the first MOU is a state requirement that, with the extra funding that is being, coming down from the state, that the MOU with our teachers bargaining unit is required to address how we are training our staff and how we are using the funds provided by the state for implementing the READ Act. So with that, I'd ask for your approval of the MOU as it is presented.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Ms. Engel, seconded by Ms. Tyre to approve the MOU with Education Minnesota for the state mandated READ Act training as presented. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Another MOU with Education Minnesota to merge ECFE teachers into the 23-25 collective bargaining agreement. Mr. Maya, could you explain this to us, please?
MOUs are not very common, and to have two in the same month is unusual. This MOU, again, was originated from our teachers' union, and it has to do with the improvements that we made to our early childhood family ed teachers to make their compensation package more in line with their union counterparts. In our current language or current contract, there is language that specifies different sections that pertain to early childhood family ed. And so with these improvements and whatnot, it's just kind of laying that out, and really it's exactly the same as we discussed as far as some added insurance contribution dollars and some added salary schedule dollars, not to exceed the amount that we had approved it last year. So the union then, with their representation at the local and state level, asked that we add this MOU, just noting the early childhood family ed changes, how it impacts their contract.
The MOU here is the wrong one.
It's the same read
It's the same READ Act one. Is there another?
Let me dig quick. Yeah.
Not to interrupt you, Mike, but
No.
if that is an issue, I would suggest that we would table that until we can get that attached with the, and have a moment for the board to perhaps research that a little bit.
No, I would agree. I got two of them here. Let me see. That's the READ Act. The ones that I have in the folder are both READ Act too.
Okay,
I would agree. Yeah, you should see that.
okay.
You should see the MOU before you approve it.
Absolutely, yeah, we would. And not a problem, but we will get that taken care of. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to table that particular item this evening.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Tyre, seconded by Mr. Schoenrock to table the MOU with Education Minnesota to merge ECFE teachers into the 23-25 collective bargaining agreement. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Blundorf is with us this evening to tell us about her extended field trip to UK, France, Switzerland, Germany in June of '26. Makes all us board members want to be back in school.
So, yeah, I can give you a quick synopsis. Obviously, two people on the board had children who traveled with us to Australia and New Zealand this past June, and it went really well. And one's gonna be. So, you know, potentially I'm looking at, it's 10 days and we fly to London. And then spend pretty much a couple days in each spot, so a couple days in London, and then we go to France, go to Paris for a couple days, and go to Versailles, which I'm super excited about because I always want to see, you know, French Revolution, Louis the 16th. I'm just excited about history, as I tell my students every day. I just love it. And then from there we traveled to Lucerne, Switzerland, beautiful town, up in the mountains, go up the mountains, and then travel through Liechtenstein to Munich. And go to like Dachau concentration camp for a day as well, and then fly home from there. So it's like 10 days. I have been to most of the locations. Paris is like the one place I haven't been on this trip before, but the students are on my own as well. But lovely, lovely cities. And looking for, again, during the summer, so June of 2026, you know, it's through EF, so education first, right? Yeah. Same company we've used very long, same company that we use in Costa Rica as well, school. So kind of the same, pretty much the same process that I've done. This would be, if it was approved, my 4th trip through EF. Kids. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Is that the cost right there?
Yes, that's the cost. And that includes airfare, food, lodging, admission, as well. And so pretty much the way it works is when I have the meeting, usually once it's approved, I'll have a parent meeting. Once kids sign up, you usually have 2 options. You can pay for it all right away if you want, or the company automatically just divides it out per month, and there's no extra interest or anything on it. So they just take the amount and divide it out. So every month from when they sign up to when we go, they take out that amount every month. So it makes it a little more affordable as well, so like the little chunks every month that comes out.
When do you have the information meeting?
So it's, once it got approved, then probably within the next couple of weeks, I'm hoping, so I can get kids signed up as soon as possible. Yeah, so once it was approved, then probably within the next couple of weeks, usually I look at the activity schedule and then determine what night there's nothing going on. I usually have like a 6 o'clock at night meeting in Richmond in the Commons and invite everybody to it. The grades that are offered.
Are you experiencing repeat students that, or how, what is your?
So we went to Australia, so there's 46 total, including the chaperones. I had, I think, 4 students that had went on my last trip to Ireland, Scotland, and England that also went to Australia, New Zealand as well. So a handful, not a ton.
Okay.
But yeah.
And do you get to a point of where you have to turn students away, or how, what I'm leading to is it offered to all students, or what is your
So yeah,
your requirement type?
Yeah, so it's grade level. So what grade are you going to be in? So it'll be, had just finished 9th through 12th grade as of 2026.
Okay.
So that would be this year's 8th grades through juniors when
Okay.
I have the meeting. And I was honestly shocked for Australia, New Zealand. I actually didn't have a waiting list. At first, I had like 3 or 4 kids because I can only take 48 total, including chaperones, because that's as many who fit on a bus.
Okay.
And then over the course of the 18, almost 20 months, enough kids had kind of backed out to the I don't want to go, that those kids off the waiting list got on. So everybody who signed up originally who wanted to go ended up being able to go. And I felt terrible. I want everybody that wants to go to
Right.
go.
Right.
I felt terrible. I had a waiting list.
Right.
But yet, logistics-wise, that's as many as I can take.
Absolutely.
Just because that's when we fit on a bus. But luckily, enough kids, for whatever reasons, decided not to go, so no one who wanted to go couldn't go on the trip.
And that leads me to my next question. That's a very high financial responsibility for not only students, but for parents to,
Yeah.
however that gets paid. My concern is, are we only allowing or inviting a select group of capable people that can handle that responsibility financially, and does that create divide between those that can and those that would like to and those that just absolutely can't. And again, I'm not trying to be negative about it, but those are concerns that come to mind in a situation like this.
Yes, and so I don't do any fundraising because I take high school kids, so this is what I would generally say is, you will make more money getting a job than us having a bake sale, like in the grand scheme of things. But yes, money's an issue. Money's an issue for our whole lives. I mean,
Absolutely.
I don't want to do it right now because I can afford to do too.
Right.
So I toy with the same problem, but yet again, I don't want to say to this group, you can't go because this group can't go either. So
Sure.
I agree. I understand exactly what you're saying, and I don't have a solution for that problem either.
Right.
Does EF have a program where they can apply for some type of funding?
They
to
do.
help them?
They also have they do have like a scholarship program, and they also have fundraising that like as the traveler, so the student traveler, there's like a fundraising where you can go on and like fill out information and send it out to like people you know, being like, hey, I'm going on this trip. Are you interested in giving me some money to go? That kind of stuff. So yes, EF does have some programs that I honestly don't. I think in the past most students haven't chosen to use, but they do have some that would involve some legwork on the traveler or the student's behalf to like do it. But there is some options. Yes.
So again, how many grades will this be offered to?
For 9 through 12.
9 through 12.
Mhm.
So the percentage of a typical class, so if in a perfect world you'll have 10 per class roughly,
Yep.
and out of classes of 60 or 70, so I'm trying to get the percentage of
Yeah.
people that are attending, and again, that I think we all share that same concern, along with
Yeah.
not something we're bringing to your attention, obviously.
Yeah.
You've thought that through, but when it comes to public school education, which I think this is a great public education type event, I think we all have to make sure that we are offering it to all students in a means of opportunity. But
I know in a lot of schools that I talk to, especially up in the cities, the chaperone or the group leaders, what I get called, they do invitation only. So like
Okay.
I would only invite the students I want to go on the trip.
wow,
Yes.
yeah,
So,
I
because
would not
every
be
EF,
supportive of that.
yeah, every EF person I've ever talked to, they're like, well, how do you determine
Mhm.
who goes? And every other school I've talked to, they're like, well, we do invitation only. Like,
Wow.
I will only send out invitations to the kids who I want to go on this trip. And I was like, no, I open it up to, I'm like, well, I prefer a very small school. And
Sure.
I think with the city schools, right, if we're talking about Wayzata,
Right.
you probably do have to narrow it down a little bit, like maybe you have to take a certain course.
They're probably on a trip with their parents.
Yes. So I always say, they're always shocked to hear that. I'm like, no, I open it up to, as long as you are in this grade through this grade, it's
Sure.
open to everybody.
So what is your goal for number of chaperones or the ratio?
You know, chaperones, so EF's policy 6 to 1, so every 6 travelers you can have a chaperone. I 6, you know, like I said, I'm willing to go with a couple people who want to go, and again, and up to 48. So I don't really have. I know if we get 30, we're on our own private tour. Because EF, the way they do save money is, if we get less than 30, we might be combined with another school from the United States to make that number, keep that cost down for everybody. Which the very first trip I took, there was only 11 of us, so we were combined. And you know what? The students were unsure at first, but it was a great learning opportunity for them too, because they got to meet kids from other places. And then it's such a small world. They're with Phoenix, and there was a lady on that trip, a mom, who grew up in New Ulm, lived in Phoenix. And so it's like you never know who you're going to run into. So it was really fun for kids to also meet other students from other places in the United States too. So a private tour of just NRHEG would be great, but yet with other, you know, their high school kids from around the United States too. Sometimes it's good to broaden your horizons that way.
And the cost is fixed, whether we send 30 or 48.
Yes, exactly. Because if we have less than 30,
Mhm.
then we're just going to be combined with another school from the United States. Otherwise, if I make it private with less than 30, that number goes up.
Okay.
Sorry, I might miss this. Chaperones are the same price as the.
So and for every 6 paid travelers, you get a free chaperone. And then I do open it up for parents to pay, so adults can go on the trip too. So that's like not a chaperone, that's a paid adult traveler. So I did have in Australia, New Zealand, I think I had 6 parents who paid to go with their student to Australia.
How does that work on the bus thing, though, if you can only have 48?
That includes that,
Oh, okay.
yeah. 48 humans.
Yeah, clarifying in the chaperone, that 6-to-1 ratio, that's the EF kind of ratio or
Yes.
what they use, and that's typically what you'll bring along, 6-to-1.
Yes, yeah. And yet I take teachers from New Richland, so I always take people who, this is what I will say, I'm like, I want a person who is used to being around students who aren't afraid to yell at them if they're not doing it. Or speak.
Right.
That's why no matter what.
Yeah. So it calls it the trip of a lifetime for him.
We still go to Washington DC, right? Juniors? Oh, they don't go to Washington anymore.
So I was also running that trip as well.
Yep.
When Georgia Janine left, it ended up with Pat Churchill, and when he left, it ended up with me. And I tried, which turns out was a good thing, it got canceled, or I didn't get enough people, because it would have been during COVID and it would have been canceled anyway. I tried, so it would have been spring of like 2019 to get kids, and I only had 5 or 6 kids sign up for it. So at that point, I was, obviously it was like, we can't do it, that's not enough. And then COVID hit, so it was a blessing in disguise anyway, because we wouldn't have been able to travel. And then after that, I was like, 2 trips planning for me is just too much. So I kind of like, okay, well, European history, world history is my favorite, so like this is kind of, and I kind of left it up to some other teachers, and then the interest wasn't there either. They tried another, after COVID, a couple years later, just like talking to some students, and the interest wasn't really there either. So as of right now, no.
And the kids go to Costa Rica this year, is that true?
In the spring of 25.
Yeah, March.
And the band, I assume, doesn't really travel like they used to. Do they still go
Yeah, they
every 2 years?
In March as well.
Okay. So,
San Francisco, San Diego, LA, somewhere California.
no, I think this is a great option. Just, I thought you still went to Washington DC. Jace went on the New Zealand trip and had a blast. He wasn't to Costa Rica. He wasn't going to be going on that trip, so this was a good option for him. I know it's expensive, but like you said, it was payments per month, which is super helpful, not to have to come up with a chunk of change like that. It did end up being about $100 a day additional, just because if you wanted that travel Verizon plan and then you needed cash to purchase items and or extra snacks or foods or a meal here or there. But I mean, you kind of planned for that, and luckily he had some kind family members who assisted him too. But
And the one benefit that I know students kind of like, we go in the summertime, so they don't have to see school, so.
and it was early enough where you didn't hit too much of that already summertime stuff.
Yeah, no, it wasn't too bad. I mean, my summer included, everyone's summer was busy, but yeah, it wasn't too bad. But at least they don't have that homework. And then it really helps with getting staff members to go too, because if I went during the school year, right, you can't take that many staff members out of school because we have to find subs for them, whereas that issue is kind of resolved in the summertime.
And for our family, it was a nice option. I don't have any interest to go to New Zealand or Australia, so for me to send him and not have to go with him was nice. And I didn't have to spend 4 times the money. I spent 1 time the money. So it was nice that, and he went with friends and got to bond with some kids maybe he didn't know as well. So I think it's a great option for our school. There were a lot of people really surprised that our school did something crazy like that, and I was like, well, they don't pay for it. But yeah, it's an option.
I did run into multiple people, actually all in Elberly. I went to the bank, US Bank, and they're like, oh, everyone's coming in to get New Zealand and Australia currency here. And I was like,
was like, yeah, I heard your school really went, and I was like, yeah, that was me, like, I led that. So I think it's generating some positive, news as well for the school that, we take these students and give them the opportunities as well.
I know with my two kids, they certainly learned a lot.
Great questions, though. It's a big deal, and we want to make sure that we are thorough and uniform as a board here and as a school district. These questions, because it is a very, very big deal, and we applaud you for being willing to lead it. It's got to have some moments to it that are frustrating, but I hope that obviously the reward is worth it to you. You continue to do it, so thank you for allowing our students the opportunities. Any further questions on this particular subject this evening?
Thank you.
Thank you. If not, I would suggest have a motion to approve the extended field trip to UK, France, Switzerland, Germany in June of 2026 as presented.
Motion approved.
Motion made by Mr. Mueller, seconded by Ms. Erke to approve the extended field trip to UK, France, Switzerland, and Germany in June of 2026. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Another subject this evening is an extended trip to the National FFA Convention in Indianapolis, October 22nd. This is a little bit more closely to tonight's meeting, October 22nd through the 25th of 2024. Mr. Mayak, do you have information on this, or is someone going to?
I have the information there that's on the extended field trip form, which again you have, Mr. Bird, if you have any additional information to share. Obviously, this is a trip that takes place yearly, and there's a little bit of a change to this. You'll see that the transportation is being provided by a district school bus. I asked Mr. Sorum, how come? It's the last couple I know have been on a chartered bus with a group of local chapters, and his reply was that they're not offering it this year. That's not available. Apparently, it wasn't always available in the past. Jump in here too if you go into that information. It's been available the last few years, but I guess as a region, as an area, transportation is going, all the districts are going on their own transportation. So the question I would have and pose to the board would be, and I appreciate you bringing that up, Aaron, just on the chaperones again, that especially in a trip where there's even with 10 students, and male and female students on the trip, that with one chaperone, I would have some reservations about that, and look for a stipulation that if the trip is approved, that a second chaperone, and preferably a female chaperone, be attending as well. I think that's a good practice, and I think that's something that we should be looking at in our district policy to include some type of requirement. Obviously, with the Europe trip, you're going to have a larger amount of students that are attending, and it's very unlikely that it'd be just male or female chaperones attending. So I think these trips are fantastic. If you see that they are stopping at a hog farm on the way there, and a visit on the way back as well, which is great, hands-on experience. And so that the trip itself doesn't concern me. I just have the reservations about the chaperone situation. And if approved, I would include on that a second chaperone be added. Unless you're approved of the chaperone.
Wouldn't it have to be female? I mean, there are girls on that trip, so it would have to be female.
Again, I would say we have to require it, but I think that is the absolute the smartest approach to take and to make every measure possible to have at least one male and one female chaperone attending.
Was Mr. Sorum unavailable to attend tonight, or you don't have any of that information? It's a little upsetting to me on the particular subject that you don't mean to put our administration in any type of a difficult position here, because it's always difficult to represent a program that you perhaps don't have the most accurate and up-to-date information, and that's by no means our intent here this evening. My concern is if Mr. Sorum is not serious enough about this opportunity for the students to come and be with us this evening and share his plan and the safety, and again, all these concerns that we have as a board. It's concerning to me that we would move forward with something that we have a lot of very serious unknowns on, and the other concern is that we're sitting here at a September meeting looking for an approval for an October. Ms. Blundorf obviously is much more prepared, and we're very willing to work with that, but I'm all about providing opportunities to the students, but I think there is a very high amount of concerning questions, and if it was my student and I were a parent, I would want those questions answered well in advance of an October meeting. With that being said, I guess I'm willing to entertain a recommendation from our administration, but I still struggle with the portion of not having the actual host of this event with us tonight to answer questions. Again, I understand there are other commitments, and not everyone can make a board meeting. Any advice from other board members?
I mean, I just question, that's transportation as school bus, but then 2 lines above that saying grant from the Minnesota Corn and Soybean Growers for transportation. So what, right, I'm not sure what he's getting at there if he's picking a school bus.
Right.
Do we have an extra school bus, an extra driver for him? Has that been reserved?
Do we want a school bus to go over
Right.
to
Yeah.
Indianapolis?
I'm just saying, if that's
Right.
what he's suggesting, it should already be reserved, and he should already have a driver set aside for him to be, a driver to be gone for, you know.
Like you drive.
And do you want your driver to also be your chaperone on the
Right.
trip to out of state?
No, he's not going.
Not-
One of the things I just Googled is the bus driver have the max hours. We've never done this, and I saw it said at a quick glance, 13 hours. This is a 9-hour trip, so I was wondering if 2 drivers were necessary.
For logging purposes, there's also a distance
Yeah.
from your district. When you cross state lines with a school bus, it's complicated for a semi. And
Yeah.
things change when you get across state lines, so I just don't feel that the homework has been done on this
At all.
at all, and we don't know the number of students.
I'll provide to you what I emailed Mr. Sorum on the request for some district funds to help with the cost for transportation, and the cost by taking our school bus rather than sharing a charter bus with, again, a number of neighboring districts. It's more expensive to take our own. 10 students are on a school bus. And so Mr. Sorum reported that there's no longer a regional charter bus. Over the last 2 years, it went from 2 full buses to 1 bus to no longer being an option. It's unusual for chapters. It is not unusual for chapters to travel alone. The number of school buses and vans at convention is probably higher than the charter buses. He did reach out to Waseca, but they're not attending this year due to lack of interest. My next question was the $2,700 for the expense of the transportation. Did that include the cost of the driver or drivers? And yes, it was quoted by Dan Schmidt, and so the arrangements have been made in pricing, and assumably a driver has been secured. Finally, last year per student, the cost of the bus was $246 per student. That cost was split between the student and the chapter. And what's he saying on the form, that $200 to $400 for the cost of the trip? Which I believe would help cover the cost, not eliminate the cost, but would help defer the, go towards it.
Would it be smarter almost to have them take a van instead of a bus?
Potentially. Now, if 2 vans are available, if there's 10 students plus the chaperone or 2 chaperones, then that's 12. It could still be done with 2 vans.
And that's a definite number of students?
I guess I'm just reading out the form.
They have been participating annually, going every year. Anybody, I'm interested in neighboring Wasika going every other year, and of course, lack of interest, and again, back to providing opportunity for our students, I'm all for it, especially related to agriculture. However, I would like to know whether these are repeat students that have been there before, if what his requirements are to qualify for the trip. I just have some real concerns that I think only he can probably answer, but again, I hate to jeopardize the students' opportunity also.
Is there an opportunity for maybe Mr. Sorg to meet maybe with a board member and staff, maybe Mr. Bird or yourself, and just put some of those answers in there just to
Unfortunately, the
clarify?
trip takes place about the same time as our next meeting, so again, the timing of the request doesn't give us much flexibility for much other than board approval or denying the request tonight.
Can we do a tentative approval based on a full recommendation from a meeting?
My problem with that is we're adjusting as a board because of a poor plan and in exposing ourselves to what I would consider a quite serious questions that are unanswered, and I think it takes a little credibility out of our school board here to come into a gray area like this with approval that remains to have such serious questions unanswered. But I would like to solve it also.
I would agree with the National Academic Convention is something to see. I've attended them, and it's a wonderful experience being an FFA member and being at the National Convention. I do share the concerns that we've talked about at the board, and I don't know how we address those. So it's a dilemma. We don't have time. I believe it's a very worthwhile experience. But we have some serious questions. Don't know what the solution is. And I hate to jeopardize the experience of those that would be able to attend.
It's really, it takes place every year. Too bad we got it 30 days prior versus 20 months.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
I would like to make a motion not to approve this due to lack of information, and to me it seems like lack of interest of the advisor. I hate to do it for the students, but, I mean, we don't have a lot of time and not a lot of information, Questions?
We understand. Motion on the floor is to not approve the FFA trip to the National Convention in Indianapolis, October 22nd through the 25th. Is there a second? Is there a second? I will go ahead and second that motion. Motion made by Mr. Mueller, seconded by Mr. Schultz to not approve the extended field trip to the National FFA Convention in Indianapolis, October 22nd through the 25th. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Go to a roll call vote. Ms. Engel, please.
Amy Murphy.
No.
Hey, excuse, can we,
But-
let's stop and clarify.
I'm sorry.
The motion is to not approve, so an aye would be in favor of not approving, a nay would be disapproving of not approving. Is that clear? Everybody understand? I think I explained that perfectly.
Did I vote right then?
It's opposite of what you say.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I
You
just
said
want
no,
to make sure
yes,
that
you want to
people
go.
understand where they're at and their.
If I say no, it means I want them to go, and I say my no.
Okay.
No. Aaron Phillips.
I'm confused. Aye. Yes.
Lauren.
Nay.
Rich. Mueller.
Yes.
Tyre.
Nay.
Rick Schultz.
Aye.
No pressure.
Drum roll, please. Okay, motion fails, which means that we still have an option here. All that means is that we did not deny it. We are back to the floor on finding a solution to getting this approved. So with that in mind, I think we go back to the drawing board on what our stipulations can be to perhaps get a motion that can offer an opportunity and perhaps still get students to the convention in a safe, comfortable, inclusive environment that all can participate and enjoy that are planning on going on this. So let's get to work and figure that out. Without our advisor here and 20-some days to go.
So we could potentially say, yes, they can go if they meet A, B, C, and D. And if they don't meet A, B, and C, and D, then they can't go.
I think that's, administration, you can sure chime in here, but.
I think that's appropriate, that's kind of what I was
Right.
jotting down here too, what
Right.
the stipulations would be.
Sure.
So what are we gonna list those now then?
I still think sharing a chartered service with another neighboring district with a 1-to-6 ratio of chaperone. I'm concerned about our bus going to Indianapolis, not that we don't have a wonderful fleet that we just ordered 2 more buses for, but
That's not comfortable.
there's
Not with just
concern.
10 kids on it.
So, again, I would like to know who neighboring districts are that are potential room on the bus type.
Can we call someone? Can you call them during the
Yeah.
meeting, or is that not?
I would then open that up, which is
Right.
open meeting, that we'd have to
Right.
announce that prior to the
Right.
meeting on
Okay.
where they are,
No,
their
but
address, all that sort of
He,
thing.
he's kind of the one that can, I understand your
Yeah,
point there. Okay, so first choice has to be travel with another district in a chartered transportation.
Or in our vans with another chaperone, that would be appropriate if there were vehicles.
So travel with another district in a van or in a charter bus, in vans or in charter bus?
Or report to Mr. Berg on transportation options with approval by Mr. Berg or by myself with the options. Yeah,
And I think we as a board, because of the particular situation, I think we lay out the groundwork here of what the requirements are. If he can't meet those requirements, it doesn't happen, is what, instead of, I don't wanna put this back in his court of, oh, come with another plan. He's had his opportunity to come with a plan and it isn't meeting our expectations. So, if we can design something here tonight that says this needs to happen, well, it could be one of three options of transportation, or one of two. Chaperone ratio will be gender specific, equal.
say
Right.
regardless of the number of students attending.
Right.
If it's
I'd
eight,
help us
if
with
it's-
that if you could,
There
please.
still
Yeah.
needs to be two, yeah.
Right,
Right.
if it's 5 students attending,
Right.
and it's a mixed gender,
We,
we-
Still need two.
absolutely.
Yeah.
safety and best practice, send
Right.
2 chaperones.
Right. What were our other concerns? I still have questions, and I don't know, is this a legit concern that we have 4th-year attendees? There potentially could be students that are going for the 4th time.
I would say regardless the first time or the fourth time, you're gonna pick up something different every time you.
So that's fine? We're fine with that?
I think
I
that's
think so.
fine.
Okay,
I see.
not a
Especially
biggie?
if they're interested, and
Okay.
that's what they love, then I think we
You
should
can't
continue
tell-
with that.
Unless
Yeah.
they're taking a senior's opportunity that hasn't had the opportunity, but.
I like
Right.
your concern you had on what's his qualifications with people.
Right.
That-
Right.
I've heard some things, that's a
Yes.
concern.
Right.
I think that needs to be addressed somehow.
I thought we asked that before in years past, and what the qualifications were, because some people came to the board and had concerns about that,
Right.
what the qualifications were for kids to go on those trips.
That was just last year.
Was that
I
last
believe
year?
so.
You're talking if there's
Point
brain
system.
concerns or state high school league violation concerns, those sorts of
No,
things?
I thought they had, projects that they had to do, or,
If it was offered to the entire FFA department was the concern, if I remember it right, that it was select people that were qualifying for,
yeah, but I thought
The
there were things
opportunity.
that they had to do with the FFA to qualify, is what I was saying. It was just different, it wasn't a big deal, but there was something,
sure.
that you just didn't really pick kids to go.
Oh, and
What's happened in the past with you?
My understanding was just picking and choosing who could go, not
Correct.
everybody getting an opportunity.
That's- My concern is that Spoon Wolf offers it to her entire class. They have the opportunity. I want the opportunity.
Maybe it's just understanding who the partakers, how they are able to go on the trip, who was chosen, or if it was fully available to the whole group.
Right,
Yeah, what are the
And I think what we want, if we're talking, at least speaking for myself, I'm thinking of every FFA member should have the opportunity to participate, correct? Is that a fair?
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
so is that a solution to it, that every a member in good standings has the opportunity to participate. Is that accomplishing something?
Well, it's just like, has everybody been asked? If
Right.
they wanted to go, or did they just,
Right.
how do they choose?
So from there, other concerns?
The only other question I have, I guess, is the purpose says professional development workshops at the convention, and then it says number of people attending the separate learning trip, NA, not available. I don't know anything about this trip, so do they have the option, like, to go to different workshops?
No, I'm sorry, that's actually referring to, a separate learning trip for the teacher included. So like, if, Ms. Budorf's example was typically a better example. Before taking a trip to, Costa Rica, the teacher then would have the opportunity to take a pre-Costa Rica trip to become familiar with the area and so on and so forth.
Gotcha.
Oftentimes that pre-trip, that staff development trip,
Teaches you about the trip you're gonna go on.
it does. EF is not giving that trip away for free. That type of trip then will typically have the price of that trip rolled into the price that the students have. So this question here, is there an optional separate trip for the teacher to go to Indianapolis or an FFA conference prior to attending this? Which, it sounds like there is, it's optional to attend this. I'm assuming that the October 22nd to 25th dates are the dates of the actual trip, but there was some confusion filling out the form. So, then the destination, the purpose of that optional trip would be stated there. And how many are attending the separate learning trip? I'm gonna make an assumption again, 0, if there truly is an optional trip for the advisor or chaperones to attend.
I would think that there still would be some kind of professional development for the advisors going there. You don't usually have national conventions that I ever went to, with music and things like that didn't have something for the advisor there at the same time as what the kids are doing. There's all kinds of educational opportunities going on and things like that. What I've seen.
For
in the
a
past.
student-centered trip? Okay.
I think the problem is like maybe during some of the convention sessions for the delegates,
Great
there probably is an opportunity for the advisors
to get together.
to have a meet of professional development. And I don't know for sure, but I'm sure that happens.
Which is all the more reason to have more chaperones aligned too if those things do present themselves for, you know, people that are attending. So, back to getting somewhere on this subject. Our requirements will be no school bus, but our choice A would be chartering with another chapter. Would be request number 1. Could be request 2, or option B would be our school vans, appropriate chaperones. What was the third?
Every FFA member who chooses to participate there.
Right. So
We had
that,
chaperone, we had
So-
chaperones
so-
to not chaperones.
so the transportation is A or B.
Yeah.
But if he has to have B, he can only take some of these students anyways.
Carla, do you have a solution?
We won't have
probably 2 vans available for that many days. But in the past, there was some event they went to where we rented like 15 passengers.
Oh, sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
There you go.
Was that, like,
That could be
is part
option
of your
C.
conversation, is that an option?
Option C was rent.
But that would be the chartered bus part of it, I think. It could
Or a
be.
larger van.
Yeah.
Right, right. good call. Are we in agreement that we don't want our school bus going there? Or is that the feel that I'm getting?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Okay, all right, fair enough, because I don't want to leave that out. All right, so transportation is covered. Those are 3 options. We can charter with another chapter. We can use our own vans as available or rent a larger van to accommodate. Okay. So
That larger van will probably then require
the driver,
a driver,
right?
which is fine.
Yep, okay. Yeah, and please
Or-
speak up, administration, if we're talking out of turn and
I would just,
doing the
I would keep it
impossible
a
here.
little bit more general that, ride share or, transport with another local district, take our own school vans or rent a van or vans with the appropriate number of chaperones. So if it's renting 2 10-passenger vans or 2
Right.
7-passenger vans, that's
So be
okay
it.
as well.
Right, okay. I want to keep transportation separate from chaperones.
Yep.
If we have transportation taken care of here now, let's move to chaperones. Our chaperone requirement will be a 1-to-10 ratio or a 1-to-6 ratio.
I'd say 1 to 5.
Okay,
If you split down for 2, I don't know how many kids will go if it's opened up and need to,
right,
whoever wants to go,
right,
we don't know how many
Right.
kids are gonna wanna go.
With a minimum of 2.
Yeah.
minimum of 2,
Yeah.
correct, male, female.
Yes.
Okay,
Preferably, yeah.
so the chaperone,
Not gender specific,
okay, we have that covered.
What's the number you're recommending? 1 to
1 to 5
5?
and 2 minimum.
Just throw it out there, if EF is 6, it would be the consistency with a pretty large reputable company of a 1-to-6 ratio.
Yeah,
Doesn't have to be.
It really is, yeah.
But 1 that's 6 though is
Still need 2.
still
Yeah.
Right.
And you're
It's still the
stating-
same.
So we're going all the way to 10 before we need the 3rd one. So the 11th, the 13th,
1 to 6 is
my
consistent.
13th.
NRHEG math is coming out
If you
here.
did 1 to 6, then, well, we get up to 13, then you would need a
3rd.
Third.
But it's consistent with what we just approved.
Right.
So it makes more
And
sense.
this is
Yes.
for overnight
Yes.
extended,
Right,
if,
It's the same
that-
type, it's just a different lake.
I think so.
if Ms. Boondorf is taking her knowledge bowl
Why do we need
team
more?
to a
Right,
competition and during the day, the 1-to-6 ratio is not the
right,
same requirement. That we're very specific here that this is for overnight extended trips.
Okay.
However, has that been the same consistency for Costa Rica and the van?
I think we're establishing this precedent.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
okay, that's why I was curious if we're
1 to
establishing
6
it.
is the figure.
If they're using EF, it is been consistently done.
So 1 to 6,
The minimum.
minimum of 2,
Okay.
and what was our 3rd? Open to all,
That every other favor.
Every-
You
yes.
should have had the opportunity to
will have
participate.
the opportunity
Okay,
to participate.
I would just really like clarification, because just doing some searching here, and of course, AI knows everything these days. It says be a current freshman, sophomore, or junior. It doesn't even say anything about seniors actually being able to attend the national FFA convention.
Okay,
I don't know.
Right.
So it's just questions.
sure.
Does it, what's the source on that?
Siri.
That's
AI.
The FFA national bylaws?
I haven't been able to find that.
Doesn't matter
I couldn't
who
help it.
requests the source now.
Because it's on the internet. The reason I question that too, and again, I'm not familiar with different organizations and their bylaws or requirements, but if there are local or area reps that you would assume would be attending this trip, they could be seniors.
The officer teams,
Yeah.
they would be excluded.
Right.
You can't argue with Surrey.
No, and I think how you clean that up is, I think the qualified FFA members are, but then that goes back to a decision making of who's determining education. But if there's something, we have to abide by the National FFA Foundation requirements. If they don't allow senior FFA members in there, then obviously.
I think we
Good.
can't sit and talk about.
Right,
we can-
something out of our
We
control.
don't, we don't
We
know
don't
the
know.
answers.
We want it,
Clarified.
So
but
just
we want
clarification
it, we
on
want
what
it
the
offered
attendees
to
are.
all who are welcome to go, or welcome at the convention. If you got that wrote down in a nice
No.
neat way of what I'm thinking, and
No.
not spitting on praise, it's a specialty to put that into things. So we have transportation chaperones and student qualification concerns. If you meet those requirements, they're welcome to attend. Is that how the motion should read?
Okay, I wrote, according to FFA bylaws, all students, or national FFA bylaws, all students eligible should be able to attend.
Perfect. I knew you could do it. Thank you. All right, any other concerns? Again, I apologize to the board for us spending this kind of time on this subject, but we want to get it right.
I would add too, again, this absolutely precedent setting that, this is a great discussion to have for future events or trips but I think one thing that we can add to the district policy is a kind of a window of
Lead time.
lead time.
Yes.
At least 2 days.
It's frustrating in my opinion, but yes, I do appreciate that.
If we could add one more thing to the motion, and that would be to emphasize our disgust when all this was presented in probably going well beyond what we would normally expect it to do. We've got to rely on our secretary to get that done.
I think that message might be delivered in other ways, probably. I
It's a
agree.
frustration.
I agree 100% with you. I think that message will be delivered without it being in the motion. But
Do we have any policies as to when an overnight trip needs to be turned into the, maybe that's something.
That'd be a good thing.
Yeah, that's
Right.
That's what he said, yeah.
Yeah.
Like 120 days prior to, I mean, especially an overnight, especially for student safety.
absolutely, this is scheduled. They'll have next year's plan there.
It's already on here.
Yeah.
It's in November 2020.
You know, did find somewhere that seniors go, so.
Okay.
I was wrong.
Well, that's, I took care of that.
Okay.
All eligible students should be able to attend.
So at this time, I would entertain a motion with those stipulations. Be introduced, please. And we have the greatest information in front of you, so.
Okay. You want me to read off all these things?
Yeah,
Yeah, I make a motion that we approve the FFA extended field trip request with the following stipulations, thank you. Number one has to do with transportation. We have 3 options: charter with another school and or chapter, use school vans or rent another larger van or vans. Number 2, chaperones. We need a 1-to-6 ratio of chaperones per 6 students, and we want at least 2 chaperones minimum. And we want those chaperones to be gender specific. And number 3, we want all eligible students to be able to attend, and all eligible students according to the national FFA bylaws. Whoever wants to go should, and whoever's eligible should be able to go.
Perfect. You get better than Is there a second to that motion? Motion made by Ms. Engel, seconded by Mr. Schoenrock to approve the extended field trip to the National FFA Convention with the stipulations as presented. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for working through that, and I think we have a solution, so thank you again for your time and effort on making that work for students. Maximum levy authority for the 24 payable 25 school year. Mr. Maya, please.
Our business manager, Carla Christopherson, will provide a brief overview of the primary preliminary levy for the 24 payable, preliminary level levy for 24 payable 25.
I noticed the word brief in there, and I have a lot to tell you about. But instead, go to page 30. And this first run of the levy report, so just quickly, so in the summer it opens up, we go in and make a lot of decisions, meet with Macy, you have to answer a lot of questions. Do you want to under levy here? Do you want to max there? Do you want to, are you running a youth service program now? So we do all these things. And then they take that information and they do a run. And they say, okay, your levy's out there now. So go look. And there's a huge negative number. So heart stops it. And you dig into it and realize there's something missing. You email them and they go, oh yeah, we screwed up. We have it. The LTFM plan. You know, you guys approve it in July, we send it out, they acknowledge they get it, and then it shows missing. So as soon as they reran it, went from a big 18% decrease to what we were expecting, which is just under 3%. A week later, without us making any changes, they run it again, it changes, which is why at tonight's meeting, we always ask you just to approve the word maximum. And that'll allow them to work all their bugs out. We don't have a vote in November, you're very aware of, so we won't cause a change. It's just them. So today's report shows that on page 30, if you look in that middle section, a 2.91% increase. We just worked very hard to try to be flat. Had there been a decrease coming, we would have probably refinanced something. So we tried to keep it flat. So not much change relative to a $2.4 million levy, under 3%. When we come back in December, when you guys set the truth in taxation meeting, maybe we'll have an opportunity to tell you a little more then. We'll just leave it at that right now unless you have any questions.
The next step that happens here too, if the board does approve this, then we'll go online, we'll fill out that form. I'll meet with Terry tomorrow as the clerk. She'll sign that and we'll submit it off right away tomorrow.
Any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the maximum levy authority for the 24 payable 25 year.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Mueller, seconded by Ms. Tyre to approve the maximum levy authority for the 24 payable 25 year. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Time of year then also that they've been mentioning is we need to set our truth and taxation hearing. The appropriate date would be December 16th, 2024, 6 p.m. at the Secondary Media Center. That would fall in line with where we've had them the last number of years prior to the regularly scheduled school board meeting in December. Is there a motion to approve that date and time and location?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Engel, seconded by Ms. Urke to approve the Truth and Taxation hearing for December 16th, 2024, 6 p.m. Secondary Media Center in Richland, Minnesota. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have before us this evening a proposal from for the new band room cabinets, and many of us on the building committee have experienced the improvements that are ongoing in the band room. We're anxious to get that to a conclusion, but throughout that process of improving the band room, the old steel cabinets were a subject. Mr. Mayaki will probably do a better job of explaining this. Seth had gone out and done some research, felt that bid was a little high, came back with a proposal that we feel is palatable
Yep,
for the district.
yep. Yeah, the original quote was approximately $65,000. I denied that request when they came in after toured, and the committee had some discussion on it. We decided that we should continue to look into improving the shelving units and the storage if we're improving the room as a whole. And so Mr. Schaefer did put out another request. Really the difference on this was the $65,000 cabinets were more acoustically friendly cabinets, or rated, and this next set then doesn't have that same acoustic value to it. Because of the price, and now disconnected from our summer project, because the price exceeds $25,000, more than one quote is needed. And so again, I believe it's tomorrow, we have a rep coming in to take some measurements and look at the needs or wants that we have, and they'll submit a quote. And at this time, I'd ask the board to approve the purchase of the new band equipment not to exceed the $48,000 that we know we have a quote for already. $47,600 is that quote, but I'd ask for a cap not to exceed $48,000.
Motion to approve, band room cabinets not to exceed the cost of $48,000.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Urke, seconded by Mr. Mueller to approve the band room cabinets not to exceed $48,000. The only thing I would say is, what if somebody comes in tomorrow and it's a $49,500, but it's twice the product of the other? Do we want to give them just a little bit more room, or do we want to stay that close to what probably a mute point, but I caution that we get it too tight and we fall out of compliance with what we approved, but only a suggestion. Mr. Mayak, you're comfortable at 48?
I was.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
Our rep comes in with a super deal on these
Right.
acoustically friendly.
Right,
For
We can get up to 50
Right.
instead of 65,
right.
but again,
Do you mind amending the motion just to 50 to clean it up, or I don't want to take over your motion?
We're at the discretion of the administration.
I think a dollar figure is usually the
Yeah,
past
yeah,
practice,
yeah.
though, is what we, you know, it kind of takes the weight off of the administration that it's black and white when we put the dollar amount, so I appreciate a dollar amount.
I'll make an amendment to my purchase of the band room cabinets to not exceed the cost of $51,000.
Sure.
Is that what you said?
That sounds
Okay.
great. I like it, Amy, then it's yours. Do you continue to second that, Mr. Mueller? All right, perfect, appreciate it. Motion made by Ms. Erke, seconded by Mr. Mueller to approve band cabinet purchases not to exceed $51,000. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Exciting stuff over here in board governance. An engagement agreement with, and I'm not gonna tackle that name, with the law office, Mr. Mayak. He's been working on this quite a bit and applaud your efforts on
Well,
getting
yeah.
us to this point.
Thank you, and the work is mainly playing phone tag, so the bottom line is this, we are all aware, been made aware of the situation. There's a plot of land across the street that is being donated, or we were contacted about accepting a donation of that land. The history of the land is complicated, and different names on it, and a lot of deceased people, names are on it at one point, and so both parties that are involved with the ownership of this land, luckily for us, have the same agenda to or donate the land to the school district. The bottom line is, again, to kind of clean up that history and get all the paperwork in line. There would be a cost of a retainer fee of no more than $4,000 to the law firm in Moving Prairie. I had it in my mind once how to pronounce it.
Jacobino, Jason Jacobino.
Jacobino?
Jacobino.
That was not how I had it in my notes. But,
I'm gonna write that down,
Yeah.
sounds like.
Jacobino?
Jacobino, yeah.
Yucky wine.
And so it's still a fantastic opportunity for our district to cover some legal fees and in turn have a nice plot of land that we have total control of and use over. Anticipated paperwork to be completed December. Originally, I think he was talking about February. Something came across and I thought maybe that could be sped up and we could be looking at the end of this calendar year yet to have the paperwork done. So my recommendation is to approve the agreement for committing to the legal expenses, in turn having land donated to us as a school district, or for the school district.
Seems like a no-brainer. Is there a motion to approve, please?
Motion to approve the engagement agreement for the plot of land for legal fees of $4,000.
Second?
Motion made by Ms. Erke, seconded by Ms. Tyre to approve the engagement agreement as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And actually that takes care of number 2 there. That was more or less a duplicate,
Yeah.
the way I understand it. There it is. At this time, we will close the meeting for the purpose of the postponed. Actually, we had hoped to do it in August, had some board members missing. So we will do the annual performance evaluation of the superintendent pursuant to Minnesota statute section 13D.05 subdivision 3A. We'll